Good morning, good evening, and good day to you all, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Christoph Goldenstern. I'm the VP of Innovation here at Kepner-Tregoe, and I have the great pleasure of hosting Mr. Rob Barker today to speak to you about how HCL transformed its customer experience by creating a professional troubleshooting organization. Rob is a global education lead at HCL Software Support, responsible for developing analytical and communication skills. Before joining HCL, Rob worked at IBM, at Infor, and at SSA Global Technologies as a support manager. He's also a certified Kepner-Tregoe Program Leader, a trainer, a simulation facilitator, and coach, and just all-around class act, whom I've had the pleasure to work with for quite some time. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rob.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Christoph, for that introduction and the invitation to come and talk today. I want to share with you all our experiences at HCL Support, really rolling out Kepner-Tregoe processes and some of the lessons we've learned, and hopefully along the way I give you some tips on how you can transform your business using some of these Kepner-Tregoe thinking processes. Now, HCL Software is a relatively young and new division of HCL Technologies. We were formed about 6 years ago with an IP partnership with IBM, and that was a few products from a few of IBM software products where we were taking on the development and support role on behalf of IBM. Over time, that expanded. A few more products were added, and then we started to acquire some of the products from IBM. And today we have some 30 different product families, hundreds of individual products in those families. And these are products that we own, sell, develop, and support. And through this growth, our main inspiration has been driving customer success. And within the support organization, to the end of customer success, in the early days, we had quite a startup kind of culture. A startup vibe was really happening. We could see that we had an opportunity to reinvent how we did support, how we did customer support. And we looked at three keys to success. Our strategy was built around these three keys. The first one being responsiveness. And I don't just mean responding within 1 hour of the customer call, but responding with questions and the right questions to get clarity on exactly what the customer needed and prioritize these concerns from the customer. The second key was around product and domain expertise. We needed a broad and a breadth and depth of product and domain expertise in order to support all of these products and all of the different domains and operating systems and cloud environments that our customers were operating in. And the third key was professional troubleshooting. This is where Kepner-Tregoe problem analysis in particular really came into play. And we partnered with Kepner-Tregoe to really develop and grow our organization, to transform it into what we eventually started to call a professional troubleshooting organization. One of the successes that we're seeing here, if you see this NPS 70 plus, NPS, if you're not familiar with it, stands for Net Promoter Score, and that's a measure of customer satisfaction that scales from -100 to +100. The creators of this the scoring system defined NPS 50 as being really excellent customer sat. That's where you're getting some raving fans. You're getting customers that are telling their friends about how fantastic your company is. In software support or software industry in general, NPSs tend to range between 20 and 40. So being over 50 in NPS in software support's unusual, but when we're talking about 60 or 70, this is really the holy grail of customer satisfaction. And how we got there, look, our partnership with Kepner-Tregoe is absolutely key to this, and I'm going to show you through what we've been doing, and hopefully be able to share some of our knowledge and experience with you. We based this our training of our engineers is around Kepner-Tregoe troubleshooting processes. These are the two main processes that we're teaching: situation appraisal and problem analysis. We also teach potential problem analysis and decision analysis as well. But SA and PA, these are the two keys. SA lines up quite neatly to that responsiveness, a key that I discussed a moment ago. It is about clarifying and prioritizing customer concerns, and the problem analysis is about the problem solving and professional troubleshooting. But both of the two processes together help us with this domain expertise, this shifting between domains. We have a common language amongst all of our teams. Across our teams, we have about 2/3 of the teams now, hundreds of engineers, about 2/3 of the teams are trained, and there's a common language. This makes it very easy for us to move cases from one team to another and get assistance and pick up expertise where we need it. And that's how the Kepner-Tregoe processes really fit into those three keys. Now, the training itself doesn't really transform. There's a lot more to this sort of transformational change. What we're talking about, moving from a transactional support model that is all about closing cases, a lot of internal looking KPIs that are really company centric internal KPIs. Really a trial and error approach to problem solving, because you're under pressure to try something, to fix something right away. And the professional troubleshooting, this transition takes us into a place where we're thinking about resolving concerns. What's really driving the customer's question? What are they trying to accomplish? How can we help them to succeed? They've purchased our software in support. We want to add value to that software to help them succeed and use it to the best the best that it can be utilized. And to that end, we want a systematic approach to troubleshooting. We really want to work through these things one at in a logical process flow. Now, if you're looking at transformational change, if you look up this, you look to Google, you'll find a ton of charts that look like this. They describe the stages of change, and they all have the stage in the middle that is this one is described as despair. It's the valley of despair, and up here on the top we have dreamland. I want to be in dreamland. I was afraid of the valley of despair, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I thought this whole looking at Google for advice and guidance at this point was probably not what I wanted to do. Instead, I took guidance from, I think, where everybody should get guidance from, and that is from Australian singer-songwriters. So I looked to Kev Carmody and Paul Kelly. These guys wrote a song called "From Little Things, Big Things Grow." And this was what I needed, what we needed, what we wanted. It's not about change so much as growth. We have the skills, we know what we need to do, we want to grow and develop them. So we looked to a growth model that had, again, three keys to this development: starting small, from some little seeds. How can we make it easy for them to grow and develop? And then we had this coaching model that we incorporated into it. And coaching is the nurturing and feeding that really helps us to thrive with our transformation. So starting small is, in our case, this is about late 2019. And we had two ex-IBM teams. One of them had a fair bit of Kepner-Tregoe exposure and knowledge, had been trained at IBM many years ago. And that team's manager was very keen to engage with some refresh classes and engage with coaching to help reinvigorate and rediscover these skills and develop that team further. The other team was aware of Kepner-Tregoe, but really was greenfield. They really didn't have any training per se at this point, but had a manager, again, who was on board and wanted to drive this type of change and wanted to grow into a more professional troubleshooting organization. So with these two teams, we started training them, and they were both located close to each other. Neither team was spread out all over the world, so it was pretty easy to get together for some classes quickly. And we saw some results right away. The KPIs didn't come in straight away, but the engineers were coming out of the workshops invigorated. They were telling other engineers how great this training was. More managers were coming on board and wanting to train their teams. We had a couple more teams signing up. Really, people started beating down our doors once they started seeing the KPI results, the business results. We were seeing 10 and 20% improvements in cycle times, 10 and 20% improvements in customer sat. These results were really speaking for themselves. We've made quick impact and had some motivation, but we weren't across the valley of despair yet. All right. We were hanging out now in dreamland. And this, I call it a post-training sugar hit. People come out of training fresh. They have these skills. They want to use it. But over time, they gradually come back down to where they started. The old habits come back. And we're trying to get them to do something. We're trying to get them to change the way they approach their customers. We want them to do something. And we all know that there are a million reasons not to do something. This is, I think, one of the most poignant moments in the U.S. office when Jan Levinson says that there's always a million reasons not to do something. This speaks of that inertia, that feeling that Kepner-Tregoe is something we have to do. We need to make it easy. We need to break down some of these barriers, some of these millions of things. And that's what we call, this is the step, this making it easy part. So a lot of it starts before we even do the training and with the Kepner-Tregoe program leaders that we developed. We use in-house Kepner-Tregoe program leaders. And if you're not familiar with what a program leader is, these are individuals that have been trained and certified by Kepner-Tregoe to deliver the problem management workshop. Having in-house PLs means that we have, we're not tied to public training schedules. We're not tied to Kepner-Tregoe consultant availability. We can do small workshops, big workshops, small groups. We can compress it into a short period, or we could spread it out over a few weeks if we need to. We have that flexibility. Also, having our program leaders in-house, they are support engineers, or in my case, used to be a support engineer a long time ago. But having that experience and that knowledge, that peer-to-peerness means the examples we give in the workshops, the relevance that we provide is tied to software support, and in many cases to the actual products that the engineers are supporting. And that relevance makes the change a little bit easier to happen. The refreshes are also about that relevance. We're utilizing the KT troubleshooting simulation. It provides what I think is a very realistic simulation of the sort of work that we do. It's remote based. You get information from a customer. You have to gather more information. You're often overloaded with information, but at the same time missing key pieces of information. Not mutually exclusive. That's very real. And the engineers in this workshop are engaged. They're actively trying to solve problems the whole time, and they're having fun and not even realizing they're learning. So these have been a really popular, I think really successful part of our program, and it keeps people thinking about thinking processes. Well, that's also very key. Initially, it was used as a refresh for engineers who'd been trained a long time ago, but we're now starting to use it within maybe about 6 months of the initial training as sort of it's a refresh, but to boost the skills shortly after. The last step, the third part of making it easy, is embedding the KT processes into the tools we used. Now, when we started up, we were the HCL didn't have a software support organization, so we needed a case tracking tool. The decision that we were making around selecting a case tracking tool, a key objective here was integration with KT tools, and that's why we chose ServiceNow for our tracking tool. And one of the reasons for that was the KT application, which allows you to have a form quickly linked to a case that has a KT formatted forms of situation appraisal and problem analysis in particular. This is a portion here of the problem specification in the KT application. But what we did, even before we'd started training, we embedded the process flow through our cases. It starts with clarifying concerns and then finding root cause and working out a solution. This socialized some of the language before people even come into training, and they're already speaking some of the language. The other thing with the KT application, which is it's going to load up here. Oh, hold on a second. It's coming here. There it is, the KT application. Initially, we rolled it out about 6 months ago. We didn't see a lot of usage of it initially, but it was very difficult to get to. And the feedback we had from engineers was we have to scroll to the bottom of a case, and then there's about 4 mouse clicks to get to the form. We've recently, a week and a day ago, I think, added a KT analysis button to the top of our case forms, which that's the number of uses of the application. We've doubled in 3 days what had been done in 6 months up to this point. So we're seeing some active use, and I'm hoping to see some results from it in the near future. But this is about, again, making it as easy. It's not 4 mouse clicks, 1 mouse click to get to the form, and it's being used. So my third aspect, transformational growth, the coaching feedback loop, maintaining the momentum, making the training stick after the workshop involves a coaching model. And a KT coach is someone who's been through an additional coach training, and that workshop is focused on developing the skills, the process knowledge of the coach further, so they have a deeper understanding. But also we are providing coaching skills and communication skills to help them become better coaches. This has a yin-yang effect. So our coaches, which are peers, they come from the support engineer community. The coaches develop leadership skills while helping other engineers become better problem solvers. And this yin-yang is really a win-win. And a lot of our KT coaches have gone on to become support managers. Others who've gone with a more technical career are able to use these coaching skills in technical coaching as well as KT coaching. The coaching skills transfer, whether they're talking about process or technology. But really, what's another key, and I've talked about manager involvement earlier, but again, in the coaching process, when you're setting up your coaching model and you're getting it going, it's important again that your managers are involved. Managers determine what engineers are going to do and what coaches are going to do. If they're not supported by their manager, they're not going to do it. So we need to make sure they have this support. And also, we're finding with coaching, there's a lot of different ways to approach coaching. Formal one-on-one coaching, after the workshop, assigning someone to have regular one-on-ones with an engineer after the workshop to help apply those skills to their daily caseload is a powerful form of coaching. But also, I think equally powerful is the ad hoc coaching that happens in team scrums, where a coach has an opportunity to maybe nudge an engineer in a direction to maybe get a little bit more clarity on a piece of data, maybe get a little bit more location data on another case. These nudges can be positive feedback as well, even just a great line of questioning to get that piece of information. Those sort of nudges can really affect and drive cases forward and help reinforce that this is an important thing that we're doing. The second part of this, and we've we're trying to figure out for a long time what's the best way. Is it best for the coaches to come from within a team or external to a team? Within the team, you can kind of mix up your technical and your process coaching together, and that can be very useful. But when you have coaches coming from an external team, not having that technical knowledge sometimes can help separate the process from the content. And I see a lot of success here where sometimes simply trying to explain a technical topic or a case to someone who doesn't know the technology, even that can give you the clarity. So there's a lot of power either way. Uh, the where we are right now, and like I've spent the last 18 months or so really trying to figure out what's the best model here: formal, ad hoc, in-team, external, remote, local. And where we are now is I'm finding we're getting different types of coaching successful in different teams. And it all has to do with how the managers want their teams to be coached and how they're supporting of it. Because each team's a little bit different. And again, managers are so important to understanding what's the best thing. There's some other things our coaches do which help keep people thinking about these thinking processes. A big part of it is celebrating success. We have internal blogs where we share tips. We call it the K Tips blog, and these celebrate success. Sometimes are sharing interesting cases, or maybe a message that a coach has given to a number of engineers, and we want to broaden that message out. We have an external blog where we are also sharing some of these things, sharing information about our partnership with Kepner-Tregoe, and how it aligns with our keys, our 3 keys to success: responsiveness, domain expertise, and professional troubleshooting. And this blog we did about responsiveness, which is a little bit of like, why are we asking the questions we ask when we respond to you, our customer? Our engineers are telling us that this has given them permission to ask questions. It's given them permission to do essay where sometimes they might have been a little uncomfortable. So socializing this, not just within HCL, but also to our customers, has been really successful. And celebrating success. Look, I could show you graphs and charts all over that show steady increases in NPS and how it lines up to the people who have been trained and coached and that sort of thing, and different product groups, and they all show the same thing. It's a 10 to 20% improvement in multiple key KPIs. But to me, how we score on a scale of 1 to 10 is important to know and understand. But what really matters to me is what a customer takes time to write. And what our customers are telling us, they're noticing our troubleshooting. They're even calling out problem analysis in the feedback. They're noticing the communication they get. Our engineers are feeding back to the coaches. I love this quote. My ticket life cycle has been smooth sailing since implementing KT principles into practice. Managers are telling us we have a framework now to discuss cases and escalations with engineers. And our sales staff are telling us that our customers are noticing and sharing with them that HCL support is becoming the bar that our customers are using to measure other software companies' support against. And this tells me we are making a difference, and we're to the end. We were recognized with the KT Excellent Award earlier this year, and I want to thank KT for that. It's a long road. We're still learning. We're still growing. We still have a ways to go, but I think we are largely on the other side of the valley of despair. So here we are. We've started small. We kept the managers in the loop throughout the process. We're trying to break down the barriers to make it as easy as possible. Coaching is absolutely critical. And lastly, we need to celebrate success. That's also important. So I think, Christoph, we hand back to you. I think I see some questions have come up.
Yeah, first of all, Thank you so much, Rob, for your presentation, your tips, your perspective on what it takes to make change stick, and especially crossing that valley of despair. I like that analogy very much, and I've seen it a few times myself. I found particularly interesting some of the points that you made around the role of managers in particular as a linchpin to change. I think all too often we see change fail, in my experience, at the middle manager level when we don't build buy-in sufficiently. And your point, I think, is very critical around making coaching as flexible as we can, fit to the coachee, make it easy for them. Again,
Mhm.
taking the engineer perspective and how do we make it most consumable and easy for them, so it works for them and it's successful for them. So with that, yeah, we do have a few questions that came in. First one, an interesting one here. Let me lob this at you, Rob. How do you deal with engineers that do not want to be coached?
Wow. Okay. That's I. There's actually two scenarios that come to mind, and I'll try to address them both quickly. The first one is typically the SME, the expert who's like, I don't need this. I know what I'm doing. They're tough nuts to crack, but if you can crack them, they can be huge allies. I think the approach that I find really useful is to turn the coaching interaction around and get those SMEs to tell the coach how they approached a problem, particularly if you have a particularly hairy or tricky case. I think you'll find they'll largely start describing problem analysis. And it's an opportunity to show them the value of having the language to be able to explain to others how they approached a problem and will help them with escalation. So it's a what's in it for them kind of scenario, and help kind of turn that around. The other situation is the engineers come out of the training and maybe just aren't engaged and don't care. And I think if you look at those scenarios, you'll find it's that manager support, that their first line manager isn't seeing the value, and that's where you need to work your efforts. That's not on the engineer, but on the sort of the performance system around them and what's driving their behavior.
Yeah, excellent. Here's a question that we at KT also hear quite often, and I think
Mhm.
that's going to be interesting to many people. How were you able to convince your leadership of the importance of this initiative?
Oh, that's also a really good question. You've got to show them you have to show them the value. I mean, we had some experience from IBM that did give us a bit of a head start. There is a lot of material out there that can describe some of the KPIs. The 10 to 20% gains we see is not that's not unique. Has been reported by other Kepner-Tregoe companies. I know there's white papers that can support that. Putting it in the terms of customer satisfaction or the terms of financial gains or maybe cost avoidance, depending on the leadership that you're trying to, is it finance you're trying to convince, or is it a different form of management? But really showing that value, and if you can convince them to start small with maybe one team that's engaged and wants to do it, then you can start showing them more value, and that's where we saw the success. We started to see more value, and then it started to snowball, and we were even asked by senior management to accelerate. That we weren't training people fast enough. So that's it. Once you start seeing the value, then the ball gets rolling.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're starting to come up against time, but we might have time for just one quick one, which I think is going to be interesting to pretty much everyone who's tuned in, and that is, I think in some respects you've answered it also in your presentation already, but in summary, what were the biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
Um, yeah, the biggest challenge is inertia. Is that feeling that this is something else that we need to do. It's a flavor of the month and something else. I think the wording I like to use is it's not something. Problem analysis isn't something else you have to do. It's how we do what we do. We are solving problems, and it's all a matter. It's not about whether or not you use problem analysis, but how well you use problem analysis, how well you solve the problem.
Yeah. Very good. So we are up on the half hour, and we do like to stick to time here at Kepner-Tregoe. So, but don't worry if your question did not get answered. We do have a few more. We'll come back to you via email. We promise. We will respond to your question. Before I wrap things up here, Rob, any final thoughts or words you want to share?
I want to reinforce that middle management comment that you made. A question that I hear sometimes is it more important to get top-down support or get that base, that grassroots support, which is more important? And I think they're both important, but the most important is the managers in between. The direct reports of the engineers are the ones that you really need to convince and be on board to get this sort of success to happen.
Yeah, don't forget the guys that do the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
Okay, super. We're going to wrap things up here. We will make the presentation and the recording and the slide deck available to you, so watch out for that. Rob, thank you very much again for sharing the HCL story with us here today. And
No
thank
worries.
you everyone for joining us, and have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.